Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spirit Plant Medicine Conference, the 11th installment. We're quite looking forward to it coming up this November. My name is Marc Caron, and I'm here with our organizer, master of ceremonies, and master of all sorts of great things, Mr. Stephen Gray. Always a pleasure to see you, Stephen. How's it going?
Hi, Mark. Hi, folks who are watching or listening.
Well, tell the folks what we're here to talk about today, Stephen.
Well, Mark, but I've never been one not to talk about these matters. So I will start off, sure. So, as you said, Mark, obviously the 11th. It's been an interesting couple of years here, of course. 2019, we had a remarkable conference at the in the Great Hall at the Student Nest at UBC. We sold out with about 600 participants, 25 or 30 vendors, and the most incredible group of speakers. One of the things I want to say, Mark, that you know, but we're saying this for the benefit of viewers, is that this is not boasting at all. This is the fact. This is just a fact, an observed fact. One of the things that makes this conference special is that we have only one room. We don't have breakout rooms, and we treat it as actually. I think you came up with this little slogan, Mark, the conference with a ceremonial feel.
Well,
It
I
might.
got that actually. It was Mark Hayden, I believe,
Ah.
in 2018 had made a comment. If somebody had made it, and I'm pretty sure it was Mark Hayden who brought that
Hmm.
up, and it was just the feel that people were talking about, that it wasn't a really full on left brain type conference of tons of information of academia in that sense, but it was the community that everybody really appreciated in the way that it connected, right?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we do indeed think of it as almost a ceremony in that sense. We start off with the strike of a gong, which is the way, weekends and ceremonies and practices are done in, different traditions like Tibetan Buddhism, for example, right? And then excuse me, we have like Theta Phoenix is our wonderful musician who plays things like crystal bowls, does a little bit of sustained vocal stuff, and she comes in different times to get people out of that left brain scenario, kind of mode, and settle them in before we get into an afternoon of things and different things like that. Plus, we have again our cannabis ceremony on the Saturday evening, which is a stunner, quite honestly, and that really carries us on people on into Sunday, because they come in Sunday, and there's what comes out of that cannabis ceremony is an open-heartedness that was already there for a lot of people, but is expanded somewhat from being in that little hour and a half ceremony. When I say cannabis ceremony, we're actually smoking cannabis. We go outside, so we're not filling up in the room or anything, and ask people to walk out in silence and return in silence and sit in meditation, do some guided meditations, sound journeying, things like that. It's really quite remarkable, and carries over into Sunday, so that people come in and they're, even more open. So that by the time we've gotten to Sunday, the last couple of years, the energy in the room has been palpable. So there's that. And part of that, not separate from that, is the power, as you said, Mark, of community, and using that sort of almost overused term now of networking or connecting with people. You and I have both heard, I know I have, and I'm sure you have, Mark, heard people say, this conference changed my life, because I made a connection with a certain person. And it's one of the things, like when I'm the MC usually, and I will be again this year. And it's one of the very first things I say. I look out at the audience and I say, hey, folks, no matter how shy you are or reticent, please put yourself out on a limb this weekend. Walk up to total strangers and say, hi, my name is such and such. What brings you here? Those are the kind of things that are one of the things that are remarkable about our conference. And again, the fact that we're all in the same room, it's almost like I like the image of, it's like a spaceship that takes off for the weekend, and we
Hmm.
kind of float around in this sort of liminal space or whatever, and then we come back together at the end, or not together. We do. We come back to ground, at the end of Sunday, so to speak.
Well,
And the
one
other
thing I
thing,
want to touch on
oh yeah,
that
go
that you
ahead.
mentioned, Stephen, was that we do everything as one complete unit in the sense that we don't have breakout rooms and different speakers in different rooms kind of running a separate conference in a different
Hmm.
area. And I think that's really important because I can speak for myself only. Uh, I don't like those kind of events because I always feel like I'm missing something. I've got that FOMO, if there's other talks that I wanted to catch and it's like, how do you
Hmm.
decide?
Yeah, it's a
And
totally different thing.
yeah,
It's
and you're not
almost like
separating people.
going to a mall and deciding which shop. Hey, and I don't mean to slag that kind of conference.
No,
The
not at
MAPS
all.
psychedelic science conferences are like that. I've been to two of them. They're amazing in their own way, but it's not a community group going together through it because there are 5, 6 rooms going on at the same time, and as you say, you
Hmm.
have to pick and choose. It's kind of like going to an exposition or something like that. So now we are. That's what is I don't know. I don't know everything that's going on in the world, but close to unique with our conference.
Yeah, and
So
I
part
think
of
that
that. Oh, go ahead.
we don't at this time in the human history we need
Hmm.
more community and more togetherness than we need separation, and that's something that I think is as you've alluded to, the one of the magic powers of the Spirit Plant Medicine Conference that really
Hmm.
brings people together. So
And that's where I was going next with this, actually. So you've
sorry to steal
segued
your
into
thunder,
it.
Stephen.
Oh no, you didn't. You introduced it and segued into it perfectly, Mark.
Awesome.
So the other component that I wanted to share with people about that is that, and no one will be surprised to hear me say this, I'm sure. I just spoke with a really interesting psychic channeler, medical intuitive, and today, and the way she put it was, which is what I've been thinking and feeling, and so many other people too, is that we are now in a do or die situation on this planet. I know it sounds a little bit, heavy duty to put it that way, but I think this is the recognition that people need to connect with. We're not playing games on planet Earth anymore. Frivolity is becoming less and less functional or valuable, so to speak. You're either going to be, this is an old one, but part of the problem or part of the solution. And what people do think, feel, is more important than ever. Every
Can
one
I
of us.
add something to what you just said there?
No.
Um, well, I'm going to anyway, Stephen, because
We
that's
got to
how we
keep a little
roll.
bit of lightheartedness while we talk about these serious issues. Go for it,
Absolutely.
Mark. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
when you're talking about the problem and solution, there's also
Uh-huh.
that part because, we are a collective, we're a whole, that's that
Yeah.
oneness. And if you don't see yourself as part of the problem, you're also
The
not going to see
solution, you mean?
yourself as, no, if you don't see yourself as part of the problem,
Oh,
you
okay.
also
Sorry.
don't see yourself as part of the solution,
Ah, good point. Pardon me.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because, if we look at humanity as a whole, we're part of that.
Okay.
And if there's problems there, then we need
Yeah.
to kind of be aware of that so we can be part of the solution.
Right. So the way I really want to kind of sum that thought up is that that's what the conference is really for. Is that the psychedelics are arguably the most potent tools and allies we have for doing that work because it has to start from the inside. But it's not just about the inside. It's not just about getting yourself healed in that sense, because that's just the starting point. That's just, in a sense, getting your vehicle roadworthy. And then the rest of it is taking that vehicle on the road and participating. So, what we're trying to inform, and inspire people about is that, yes, we are actually in a do or die situation on the planet, and we need all hands on deck. And so, we're trying to inspire people to, make the connections with the work that they need to do for themselves so that they can participate in that. And I hope that's not too big a task to ask of our audience, but part of the reason or actually central reason why I'm saying that is because we need people to come and be part of this. We need you folks there. We need our community there. All my friends or anybody, colleagues that I talk to that, that are not already coming, I say, hey folks, this is the time. We need to bring the like minds and the seekers and the curious and the willing together, because it is a time of transformation on this planet. Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it any better myself. And I think that, it's time we all come together even more. And,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just excited to, that we can do this in person again after a couple of years of not being able to do that. And
Hmm.
because it's always been, the feedback has always been a great community event,
Yeah.
and community keeps coming up. So I'm just excited.
Hmm.
I'm excited about the lineup you put together of speakers, and I'm excited to see some people that we haven't seen for a long time. I know I had the honor of attending the Dose 2 premiere. And again, those guys did a great job with a great documentary, pretty much sold out the Vogue again, which was fantastic. But it was nice to see everybody, people you haven't seen in literally 2.5 years.
Hmm.
And that really felt good. And
Yeah.
to see everybody come around and support this work and
Hmm.
and share that information and knowledge, it's, as you say, now is the
Hmm.
time more than ever. So
Hmm. Yeah. So it feels to me like the conference has an urgency and an import that has already been there, but has the stakes have gone up. I mean, as everybody knows, things have changed a lot on this planet in the last 3 years. And, just look at I don't want to go on about it. Everybody, who's not hiding their heads in the sand knows that the climate has become more extreme, more unreliable. And, politics are wild and crazy in many different places on the planet, et cetera, et cetera. And not, and then not, that's even without mentioning all the insights and the visions and the mystical, connections that people are making, and 500 years or so or more of multiple, like really multiple visions and prophecies from indigenous communities and societies around the planet that have all pointed at this time and said this is kind of the crunch moment, where there is this great potential. And I just want to put the icing on the cake of that kind of thought, if I may. Uh, Part of the reason why a conference like this is so important and that sharing these ideas and making these connections are so important right now is because things are crumbling in a lot of ways. And there's going to be a lot, there already is, and there's going to be a lot more anxiety, fear, depression, confusion. And so people need to hear messages of hope that are plausible, that are believable, that the old had to die off to create a new vision for this planet. It had to, and that's what the indigenous visions have been saying for hundreds of years, and that's what the mystics are saying. That's what, a number of our speakers are saying. Chris Beisch, for example. Maybe we should just get into talking a little bit about some of the
I wanted
speakers.
to throw one thing in there.
Yeah,
When you were talking just about, all of these things that are happening, and
yeah.
it's the growth of the, call it the psychedelic revolution or renaissance that's been happening, has exploded even in these past two
Hmm.
years when things have been a little crazy. And when we were talking about solutions,
Yeah.
these medicines are solutions for some of those ailments you were speaking of, that really
Hmm.
do make a difference. And we've seen it in our work time and time again, just through testimonials and what
Hmm.
we've seen. So I think it's really an important time. But yeah, let me pop up some slides for us, shall I?
Hmm. Yeah.
There we go.
Right. So a lot of people know Chris by now. His reputation has been spreading the last couple of years, primarily based on his remarkable book LSD and the Mind of the Universe. So Chris is one of those. I was going to say big thinkers, but it's not big thinking in a sense. It's big understanding or big visioning. And so Chris talks about this sort of okay, so super briefly, but I do want to focus a little more on him because he's one of the sort of, as I say, big vision people that's going to be at the conference. Chris underwent a 20-year journey. He's a retired university professor who underwent a 20-year journey of 73 high-dose LSD sessions done in the Stanislav Grof protocol, which is lying down with eye coverings and a carefully curated music playlist and a sitter to make sure you don't, suddenly decide you're freaking out and you got to call 911 or something. And he went really, really deep with this stuff. And basically, especially in the last third or so of those 20 years, what he was downloading from what he calls the vast intelligences of the universe is that we are indeed going through a death rebirth cycle on this planet, and that especially if we pay attention to that and understand that. And this is again why it's so important to hear these messages, so that we don't just think we're going to hell in a wastebasket. Actually, I was going to say a handbasket. Wastebasket's even better. That there is an essential death and rebirth process, and out of that might come the birth of what Chris calls the future human. And besides that, he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, well, and I gotta say his book is a must read. It was
I would say
fascinating and
so. Yeah.
insightful and really
Yep.
made me think. And I gotta give him, two thumbs up for just courage for, doing what he did, because that's
Hmm.
not necessarily a small feat or a short
Yeah.
trip, let's say.
No, and in fact, that's one of the archetypes that's going on right now, for people like Chris, for people like you and I, Mark, that are putting on this conference, and for anyone who's open to the message, is it's time to step up. Indigenous people have been getting these kind of visions, of it's time to open up the secret archives, in a sense, that things have become too serious to try to keep I mean, some of the ways, protocols, teachings, etc., are going to be held back, just because, if too many people outside of those communities what don't understand them get a hold of them, they might misuse them. But basically, that's the message I'm hearing from a number of Indigenous people, is that they're getting told by the spirits of the medicines or whatever, that it's time to share what they know, because it's too late not to.
Absolutely. Okay, you ready to move on?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, Belinda, I love Belinda. Excuse me. She's one of those people. The title right there, "The Turning of the Soil," speaks for itself about what we're just talking about. She's, people can read. I'm not going to, say too much about these people, because they can read their bios on the conference website. Which is all right in front of you there, folks, of course. She lives in, I think it's Arizona, maybe New Mexico, I forget. But as it says there, she's Dine. A lot of people know the term Navajo. I think Dine is the people's word themselves, the community, those people's words for them very selves. Excuse me. But also some others, Zuni, etc., etc. But she's very tuned into what the traditional indigenous teachings have to say about this time, and the kinds of understandings we need. She's very experienced with plant medicines, psilocybin, peyote, things like that. And she's internationally known, very experienced speaker. Now, I should say, just so in case anyone wonders, or is tuned into that, knows who she is or whatever, unless the Canadian government changes their regulations for entry into Canada, Belinda, sorry about that phone here. Belinda's going to be coming to us on Zoom. It was originally meant to be in person, but she and one other person currently are going to be on Zoom, but that's only a small portion. We're really focusing on a live conference this year.
Yeah, and that's a sign of the times. And I think that,
Yeah,
we got to use the tools that we have available
yeah.
to us today to make the biggest difference that we can.
Yeah, I'm just slightly, I don't know, the word is embarrassed, but a little sensitive about not wanting to throw too much online stuff at people, because they've had to deal with so much of it over the last 3 years.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll talk about online stuff later. Okay,
Yeah,
shall
we
I
will.
carry on?
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, Jamie also getting more and more well known. He's quite a remarkable guy, very articulate, eloquent, and deep thinker, powerful visionary, I would say. Jamie has a new book out, well, not that new anymore, 6 months maybe, called Recapture the Rapture, which is quite remarkable. He also co-authored a book called Stealing Fire, for which the book was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. So Jamie gave one of my two or three, I would say, favorite presentations at the 2019 conference, Spirit Plant Medicine
Hmm.
Conference, where he just kind of mapped out I see he's got it called Mapping the Misto this year. He's got this quite a wild title. But in 2019, he just laid out his whole kind of trajectory of where we're going, where we need to go, where the pitfalls are with spiritual materialism and spiritual bypassing. He's really good.
Well,
And
his first
yeah.
talk was so good, he came back and did a second one during the lunch hour on the last day, I believe.
Well, he said he wasn't going to be able to get it all in one
Oh,
hour,
okay.
so we gave him another 35 minutes or so for part two. And it's is it available still on YouTube?
Well, that's what I was going to say is recommended to watch these videos and these presentations, and they
Hmm.
are available on the Spear Plant Medicine YouTube channel. We pop up and rotate talks there from our
Hmm.
membership platform, and Jamie
Yeah.
Wheel's talks are both there, both part one and part two. So if you
Oh
want to
yeah.
check them
No,
out, yeah, go take a look.
yeah, I'd highly recommend those. One of my favorite things from him, there was a lot in those talks. That two-part talk was this image of the anthropos, it's called, which is this kind of image that looks like a man and a woman inside a kind of a circular wheel. It's like the logo for the future almost, is the blending of male and female qualities in a whole, in an
Mm.
integrated whole. Yeah. So and he's going to be going much farther, or it'll be totally new. In fact, the talk for 2019, he said he put it together flying back from Europe because he realized he didn't want to be repeating himself on anything else. And so he's one of those kind of people. He's not going to repeat himself. He's going to have a whole new set of things to talk about.
Awesome. I look forward to to his presentations yet again.
Hanifa, I should at this point mention Cosmic Sister. That's Zoe Helene's organization to bring women into the psychedelic fold and help them get a platform and get out into the public more. And Hanifa's one of those people, although she already has a very large following. I don't have a lot to say about her, just from, just what's there. She's got her finger in a number of pies. She's a real mover and shaker. She's also a songwriter and a performer, and I think she's going to do a little bit of that as well. I have a feeling she's going to be a big energy on the stage. It's going to be really interesting. She lives in Portland, I believe, somewhere in Oregon, coming to us from there. Oh, and
Fantastic.
Chris Bache, by the way, is coming up from Virginia. So we really have a wide net, so to speak, or international group coming.
Well, not to mention an international audience. We've got people now coming
That
from
too.
all parts of the world, which is
Hmm.
exciting. And it's one of the things that I always love about the conference is the way, it brings people together from around the globe.
Yeah, do you remember? Was it 2018? We had a guy. I was asking people, who's from Canada here, and who's from the States, and who's from outside the States, and one guy was from Korea, I think, wasn't it, Mark?
Hmm.
Yeah, he got a hand. 500 people all gave him a hand for coming all the way from
Yeah.
Korea to the
We've got people from
conference.
India, the UK coming
Hmm.
from all over the
Yeah,
United States, South
yeah,
America. Yeah, it's
yeah.
fantastic.
Well, if you don't know Dennis McKenna by now, I'll help you. um, he's not quite as famous as his still quite famous brother Terrence McKenna, who's all over YouTube still, even though he passed away, I think, over 20 years ago. But Dennis has really built a reputation in these fields over the last 20 years since Dennis left us, and he's got a fingerprint in a lot of different places. One of the things that's wonderful initiatives that Dennis is doing is he's starting. It's already underway. I'm just not quite sure what stage of development it's at, but he's starting what I would call a mystery school of sorts in Peru. And I just want to say briefly that this whole, what would you call it, archetype almost of a mystery school is something that I think is really central to the work we're doing. There were mystery schools that essentially, to put it in grossly oversimplified terms, were sort of crushed with the onslaught of the dominator mentalities of the Holy Roman Catholic Church and the Roman Empire, and what the Gnostics called the Orthodox people, and so on, 2,000 and more and years ago and more. And there's a kind of a vision afoot now that the mystery schools are being unearthed in a sense. They're coming back metaphorically and in Dennis's case, literally. So Dennis is always a font of wisdom. You know, we keep getting him back partly because he only lives an hour away, and he's always happy to help out. Great to have Dennis's voice as part of it.
Absolutely.
Now, Jeremy's the one other person out of our 2 dozen people that's going to be joining us on Zoom because he's in Switzerland. So the logistics are a little bit difficult, but he's a lovely guy, wonderful educator, writer. He's an anthropologist. He has one of the iconic books from, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago called DNA and the Cosmic Serpent that many people are familiar with. He has a new one. It's about a year old now called Plant Teachers, Ayahuasca, Tobacco, and Cannabis. People should not underestimate the importance and value of tobacco. It has its whole world of activity and benefits. It's not technically a psychedelic, but it's definitely intertwined and implicated in work with psychedelics and spiritual work and healing work altogether. So, yeah, Jeremy has a whole whack of new things to say. It's going to be great to have him with us. Bruce, man, I love Bruce. We call him the scientific mystic, you know.
Well, one thing I got to say about Bruce is when we did our 2020 virtual online one and we had
Yeah.
that crazy power outage, it was so
Uh-huh.
great to see him in the VIP room just keeping there and just
Oh, yeah.
connecting with everybody who was attending. He was just,
Yeah.
incredible that way.
He's a
So
great raconteur, storyteller, but he's also a really deep explorer of ideas and a really deep psychonaut in that sense. He's really gone deep with this. He really is a mystic in my view. He talks about this a little bit. He was extremely unusual person as a childhood. He just says himself, I'm not giving away state secrets, that he was almost borderline autistic, and he kind of lived in his inner world from a very young age, but very tuned into other energies other than what most people pick up. And so when he finally did get into psychedelics, for a long time he didn't even want to use psychedelics because he thought he had his own way of entering into the mysto, as Jamie Wheel is calling it, and he didn't want to corrupt or compromise that. But when I think it was mostly through connecting with Terence McKenna, and they became friends. In fact, I think Bruce holds a lot of the archives of Terence's work. Once he got into psychedelics, it was like he was already primed for going really deep with that. So he has this idea. He's contributing to this book that I have coming out in the fall, and I think it's called "Are We?" I think the title of the chapter is "Are We Alone with Our Fate?" And from his visions, he's concluded, no, we are not. There's a lot going on in the sort of what would you call it, non-material world, maybe, that's in support of this transformation that we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, Mark. And so Bruce is furthering that vision, and he's a delight, and he's a delightful raconteur. Ah, yes, Chief Phil Lane. He's one of our, not exactly local. He's not in Vancouver. I believe he lives in White Rock, which is just 45 minutes drive from downtown Vancouver. Really interesting guy. He's a hereditary chief. It's all showing right there on the screen for those people that are viewing this. And they have gotten very involved with psychedelics lately. In their own way. And this is actually one of the wonderful things that's going on. And I could go on about this, but I'll try to get it into 25 words or less, which is that the visions and now the actual manifestation coming out of the indigenous communities in Canada and the United States and, in fact, numerous countries is one of the most important things that's going on the planet right now, as far as I'm concerned. They are finding ways. In fact, Francine Douglas, who's not on this list yet because she's just come on board like 3 days ago, excuse me, she is from British Columbia, and she's part of a group called the Sacred Circle, and they're doing unbelievable work as far as I'm concerned. They are combining the use of psychedelic sacraments with their traditional practices, protocols, and worldviews, even. And then they're spreading that knowledge. So Phil's part of this as well. So I've seen him talk, well, on screen, quite a powerful orator. It's going to be great to have him with us. Yes, Miguel and Don Rafael, who is right there now. This is a delightful kind of a discovery. We heard from a fellow named Jason, who introduced us to these gentlemen. I've been aware these guys are well, more popularly, their people are known as Huichol, but as I understand it, the name that they give to themselves, and it's apparently a more respectful name, is, and I think I'm pronouncing it fairly close to, I don't know if I got it exactly right. I pronounce it Wisharika, and they are elders and spokespeople within that community, and they're quite a remarkable people. They've been carrying the peyote medicine. They're from the northern Mexico regions, and they've been carrying this medicine for thousands of years, and they're part of this indigenous renaissance, you might say, that's going on right now. And they're coming all the way up from there. I think they might be doing one or two other conferences or events, but the two of them are coming up to speak at our conference, and I think they have some music too, some songs, and they don't speak English, so we have they come with a translator,
They'll
but
be presenting their art as well. They're going to have a couple of tables and bringing
mm-hmm,
up
yeah,
authentic art from their people
yeah.
to support their work and buy some lands.
I don't think I'm overstating the case to say that we and our community of people who are coming to the conference are really blessed and fortunate to have these two gentlemen coming to speak. This is rare. This is a rare thing.
And another thing to mention, Stephen, is on the following Monday after the conference, they will be
Mm.
hosting their own ceremony as well. So you can, for anybody who's interested, you can visit spiritplantmedicine.com under the events tabs and things. But they are doing a healing ceremony
And
on
it's with
that
the
Monday
peyote
evening.
medicine. So it's going to be
Correct.
very powerful. This is what they do. They're trained and certified, so to speak, or approved in their communities to hold space with that medicine. So I think that's going to be a very powerful ceremony. It goes all night, and it's pretty
Hmm.
reasonable price. And by the way, if anyone's watching this and is considering it, this is not sort of a capitalist
Oops, sorry.
thing for them. That's all right. This is not about kind of like making a profit for their career or something. This is about raising money to preserve the lifestyle, the lands, and the medicines of the Wisharika people, and that has implications for the whole planet. So, just supporting them in that way is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a great way to kind of wrap up the the conference as well with, if we have a cannabis ceremony on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and then you
Mm-hmm.
can have a much deeper dive with the peyote medicine on the Monday. So I think that's
Yep.
just a beautiful way to wrap it
Mm-hmm.
all up.
Yeah. Crystal Dawn Silas is a medical doctor. She's been working with harm reduction a lot and connected with people. You can read her bio. I'm not going to say that much about her. Working with people that are doing ketamine assisted therapy and other psychedelic therapies. She's a fresh voice and just happy to have her coming along. She's, I think, from California or somewhere down in the States. Wade Davis is a legend, not just in his own mind. In fact, he probably isn't a legend in his own mind because he's not that self-important. He's actually I've had quite a bit of dealings with Wade over the last few years, and I find him incredibly gracious, supportive, generous-minded.
Humble.
But he's also he really is a legend. He's won the Order of Canada for his work in social anthropology and anthropology, and he's written. God, he's either authored or co-authored probably about 30 books by now. He's incredible. He's the president of Colombia. He's so connected to Colombia. That the president, not the current one, I think, the maybe former president, gave him an honorary citizenship, like personally gave Wade honorary citizenship. He's written about a lot about biodiversity and ethnic diversity and things like that, cultural diversity, I mean.
Hmm.
And he's also been connected to some of the pioneers. And he may talk about that. I think his talk is, there's no title there, but I think it's going to be called Psychedelics Past, Present, and Future. And Wade really is a gifted orator. He's one of the best. He's done these really iconic lectures. We call them Massey lectures every year that are, yeah, highly regarded in Canada. So, yeah, enough said about Wade for the moment. Selma Holden, I don't have too much to say about her at the moment. She's another medical doctor who's been working in the healing fields with cannabis, and as it says on the title there, there's a focus on the climate crisis and how all this works together in that way. So, and she's coming from, I'm not sure which state, but somewhere back east in the United States. So she's crossing the continent to be with us.
Yeah, one of the things I love to see is, the medical doctors, the medical community,
Hmm.
where it really tends to give maybe some more validation for people who need that sort of
Hmm.
foundation in their, medicinal treatment or their health care or things of that
Yeah.
nature. There's a validity there that I think is an important part of this work as we move forward. Because I
Hmm.
know, there's a lot of people in our, in our culture today that, they need that. And if it's kind of seen by the medical community as something that works, then they're more apt to um, you know,
Hmm.
experience it and see if it's something that'll give them the, transformation they need.
Yeah, I would say that's a good point, Mark, and it also implies the diversity of our speaker roster. We have people from many different walks of life, and that goes for our participants as well. And that also, in my mind, goes back to what I said much earlier in our conversation that meeting and connecting with people is a huge part of it. We have a very wide range of people. We have everything from people who are just curious about the psychedelics, have never taken them. We have people who are the parents of people who have been to the conference and they're saying, Mom, Dad, you got to come and see this. And then we have the therapists, we have the researchers, we have the artists, the writers, the academics, and the
And
medical
the
people like
seekers, I
Selma.
say the seekers,
Oh,
the
yeah,
people who are
sure.
looking for the answers. And one of the things I love about, and it keeps coming back to community.
Yep.
And, you know, when people are all there together, the speakers are there, you can talk to them during the breaks, they're around,
Hmm.
they're accessible, nobody's hiding in a green room or anything of that nature, as well as just the wide range of, like you were saying, the practitioners and the seeker and everybody just coming together.
Yeah.
And I think that's always been one of the things since I've been involved since 2017 that I hear every year after every conference is the power of the community, that is brought together in a way that is really about, transforming ourselves, each other, in the world. And I think that that's always been a powerful part of our program.
Yeah, Mark, Josh, and Kelly are some of our favorite people, you and me. They're British Columbia people. They're doing remarkable work, have been for many years. They are, among other things, they're growers of cannabis, and they have a lot to say about the approaches, like both technically and sort of spiritually, you might say, or philosophically, that one undertakes when dealing with the cannabis plant. They only do sun grown, they only do organic. They put companion plants around it, which they've learned benefit all of the plants, including the cannabis. And they have this organization or initiative called, I think it's called Pure Certified. 3 or 4 years ago, they already had 75 or 80 people signed up for it. And it's, according to Josh, it is a organic certification certificate, I guess you could say, that is, according to Josh, more rigorous than Health Canada. And Health Canada's got a good reputation for organic certification. So they're going to talk to us about cannabis and our relationship with cannabis, and they're big vision people as well. They understand that cannabis, when understood properly, when used wisely with intention, not just to escape or whatever, or to lighten the load, although that can be nice too, but with intention, it can be the sacrament of peace. It has a great potential role to play in the transition that we're all dealing with now.
Absolutely. And and if one thing, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, do they not provide our medicine for our ceremony on Saturday night?
Well, don't tell the world, Mark, but yes.
Oh, well, I just did, but it's legal in Canada,
Well, this is true, yes,
right?
and so we are going to have um, medicine from their farms, yeah, at our cannabis
Absolutely.
ceremony, and it's the one we had before. It's actually called the Healer, and that's an appropriate name for it.
Absolutely.
Laurel Ann Sugden, she's what I would call an up and comer. She's
And
the
I'm going to
voice
give
of.
you this one too, Stephen.
Yep. Okay. Oh
We'll go
yeah,
back
that's
and
her
forth.
husband. Yep, that's good. That's her husband, Josip Orlovac del Rio, and they are both now, I guess, arguably experts in Huachuma, also AKA San Pedro cactus. Laurel has a wonderful understanding of that. I guess probably close to completing her PhD under the guidance of our legendary Wade Davis here at UBC. But she spends, I think her actual base now is in Peru, but she also
Hmm.
lives up this way part of the time. I think in Montana, where her people are from, her family. And but she's made such a deep dive experientially, not to mention and research wise, with this medicine and its history and its traditions, that she has a remarkable understanding of it. And she has a wonderful way about her. She's one of the most, I don't know, authentic, sincere people I know. She's really going to be a powerful inclusion at the conference.
And her husband, of course.
And her husband. Yeah.
And he's originally from South America,
He
I
is
understand.
Peruvian, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
fantastic. Oh, that takes us to the end of our slideshow, Stephen.
Sure. I want to mention one or two more people. Actually, it has been an interesting year. It's kind of dovetailed or gone along with the challenges that pretty much everyone has been facing these last few years, which is the conference has been a bit more of a challenge this year. I'll say right out, we've had to work around some things, and not least of which is pandemic issues. And three of the presenters that were to come from the United States have been unable to come because of the regulations and restrictions placed upon people for traveling, like vaccination things and so on. So there have been some challenges, and we've had to
Well, and,
replace.
and not to mention the hesitation we had even in the beginning. Are we,
Hmm.
aren't we, are we
Yes.
going to be locked down?
Yeah.
What are we doing? And that was why one of the
Yeah.
reasons we've kind of been on a slow and steady pace since
Hmm.
we started putting it all together this year. And
Yeah.
now it looks like it's full on go time, which is really exciting.
Hmm. So the reason I mention that is because I've now come to see the challenges that we've been dealing with as part of the whole thing, that sort of a necessary part of the whole vision altogether. It's like, carry on, stay steady. It's going to be like that for humanity, altogether. Is like, don't get thrown off your horse. Or if you start to fall off your horse, let that be your recognition that you got to sit up straight in that horse again and ride that horse, because that's what we're doing right now. Is we have faced some challenges. There's unknowns. Who knows? There might be, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but there could be more of this COVID coming back again. Oh God, let's hope not. But yeah, she's right. Anyway, so it's been a journey of learning to hold one's seat and also relax and let go. We don't have control over all the factors involved. So I've been kind of scrambling to get some replacements, and I want to mention Zoe again, Zoe Helene of Cosmic Sister. She's been incredibly helpful. Because of the fact that she's been at the conference 4 or 5 times, she's made all these connections with people from British Columbia and elsewhere, women, and often Indigenous or BIPOC women. And she has connected me to a woman from right here named April Liu is going to be joining us. She's fantastic. She's been working with Indigenous people all the way up and down the coast and down in Ecuador. She used to be the sort of I don't know if I got this quite right, so don't quote me, folks. But very important role in Vancouver's iconic Museum of Anthropology. Uh, yeah, she's just a mover and a shaker, and she's coming along. And I think I mentioned Francine Douglas earlier, who's also not up on the website yet. So if people are looking at the current version of the website, Nicole Horseherder is no longer with us, one of the people in the States that I mentioned that cannot come, and also Yaya Miriam Webster is another one who can't come because of COVID issues, vaccination issues, and so on. And Zoe herself, for the first time in about 5 years, is not able to come because she's having some different kinds of health issues. And because of that, her husband, Chris Killam, who is still on the website, is not coming. So, but we've got some 2 or 3 irons in the fire, I guess you could say. So we've got April and Francine that I mentioned earlier. And Wade Davis is helping me track down a couple of really interesting people, and Zoe's got a couple of more interesting people that we can talk about if we have another session like this in a few weeks.
Well, we very well may. And I want to also just say that Zoe Helene's been, a great supporter as a sponsor in bringing, the women to the conference and
Hmm.
bringing the voice of psychedelic feminism to the forefront since I've been part of this program, and she's been a very
Absolutely.
instrumental
Hmm.
part of that, and in regards to even recommending some great the BIPOC speakers who can really fill the roster in a powerful way.
Hmm. Yeah. So, there's no doubt that we're going to have a remarkable group of visionaries uh, helping with this urgent, mission we have going, with all humanity right now. So you were going to talk, I think, about some of the practical issues, logistics,
Not so
tickets,
much.
and all that kind of
Well,
thing, or
tickets are
what?
on
Yeah,
sale now, of course.
yeah.
We have extended because we know summertime, everybody's out there enjoying the summer, traveling, vacationing, and such. So we had extended our early bird um, discount, which is 25% off
Hmm.
tickets up until September 15th. So now's the time to get, one of the best price. We always work hard to keep our pricing low. So that's one of the things that we definitely want to let people know that that's still available today. We also want to thank a good part of our sponsors, Conscious Living Network, Sacred Journeys. We've got Awake Healer. Um, we've got so many sponsors who have supported us just as community partners, such as Sakruna, Sisters in Psychedelics. Um, we've got so many, which is always an exciting aspect is the vendors. And
Hmm.
there's all sorts of great products that they have to share. They've got services, ceremony, so many different aspects that the vendors bring to the table, literally to the table, that can give you guys and anybody who's attending some opportunities for some great products from on many different levels. But you can visit our vendors and sponsors online and see what they're up to, because we've got Filament Health. They were featured in the Dosed movie. Simon Hayduke will be creating his beautiful art gallery space that we've had every year as well. Westworld
That's his
Hubcast.
artwork behind you.
Yes, that's exactly it
Yeah.
today. And ironically enough, I big shout out to Simon and thank you always for his support and the work he does. And I just received the animated version of this today, this afternoon. So it's the first time it's actually being seen out there.
Nice.
Hubcast Media, who's been our AV live stream team,
Hmm.
have always been doing a great job. And this year we're going to bring the event as a hybrid. So we're even offering a free live stream. You can watch it in our membership program. And we're doing what they call a hybrid event. So people can join us virtual and interactive online via Zoom in a room that brings community together. And that's why we do that, so that people can connect, communicate, see each other, and have the community there in such a way. Of course, we've
Hmm.
got the UBC Psychedelic Society, who's always been great support. They'll be volunteering and bringing, their, love of plant medicines um, to the nest at UBC, which is, where they all go to school, which is always
Hmm.
exciting. And we're just really excited about, the differences and the improvements and the change that we're working to embrace as we move forward this year with the
Hmm.
conference. Because, it's a different landscape out there. And I want to make sure that we can, for those who are not able to travel, that they can still join us. They can still be part of it. And if money's an issue, there's still the free live stream option. You just have to sign up for that, and you'll be able to watch it every day online, which is
Hmm.
something that we're excited about as well.
Yeah, and even the paid version is not that expensive for the online, is it, Mark? And it
No, no,
gives
it
people the
comes in at
option of seeing, looking at the having a, because it's, I think one of the problems with online stuff like this, which is an almost 3 full day conference, is a lot of people don't want to be sitting in front of their computers for the better part of 3 days. So if you have that option, if you can afford to pay our reasonable, very reasonable, I think, price, then correct me or straighten out the details on this, Mark. But that means they can watch. They don't have to watch it all at once. They can watch it over a period of time later, right?
actually no. No,
No. Oh,
it's
sorry.
as if you're going to be attending the conference. And one of the reasons for that is we want people to attend. And
Of course.
it's, one of the things we've learned, and I've seen in many different
Hmm.
online things, is, it waters down the community. It waters down
Yeah.
that ability, if people can just go watch it anytime. So
Right.
there will
Well,
be
we are
replays
prime.
available in our membership platform. So if people want to, join our membership,
Oh,
we will be posting the talks in there, which is something I also want to share, because we have over 150 videos, presentations from conferences of past years in our membership site, which you can access anytime online at Spirit Plant Medicine.
oh, okay. So to be
Yeah,
clear, the paid online version does not give you access to viewing the talks
that's
later. Is
correct.
that correct? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Sorry about that.
unless people want to upgrade into the membership program.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
and that's
And
fine.
what's
And
involved
and
in
that'll be,
that?
well, you'll find out the details in the special offer at the conference that we put out there for all of our attendees, because we always want to keep things reasonable. But
Okay.
unfortunately, we have to be sustainable, and there is a cost when it comes down to video and all of that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So we have to be mindful of that as well. However,
Mm-hmm.
it's always reasonable.
Yeah, yeah. And this is not a, just to, in case anyone's wondering, this conference is absolutely not about, profit-making capitalist ventures. This is a vision, and we'll be lucky if we are able to afford mac and cheese for the next year, right, Mark? Mark, are you still there?
This year, what about next year? Or
I'm
next
I'm
year,
being a
what about
little
this year?
I'm being a little glib about that, but I do want to make that point that we're not in it, to get rich and famous. We're in it to do our modest part, toward this transformation.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to finish off, if we're about to wrap up, Stephen. I've got one last slide or one last video I want to play, just to wrap up our talk for today. And it's just a nice little video of our past conferences and some of the speakers and that sort of fun stuff. So let me get
Nice.
that going here. Is
Well,
there
thanks a
anything
lot
else you
for.
wanted to share? I would just want to invite everybody to come and join us, whether you can join us in
Mhm.
person. We'd love to see you live in person, because that's always the best. And if that's not, viable for you, we hope to see you online because we will be, I'll be going around interviewing the vendors. So you'll see the vendors online. We'll be interacting with everybody online as well, who's in part of the virtual program, because we're going to do what we can and really make it so that the people who are joining us online in the virtual experience can actually feel like they are in the room with us. And that's
Mm,
one of the important things.
yeah. Well, the only thing I'd like to add to that, Mark, is that I don't like to make claims that I don't feel are supported. That I could stand. I feel like I have to be able to stand behind them, and I think I can say without hesitation that if I'm talking to you who are viewing this now, people, if you come to this conference with an open mind and a willingness to experience and learn, you will find it quite powerful and beneficial.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us, whether you've been watching us live or you're catching us after the fact. Uh, Thank you very much for being part of our community, and we look forward to seeing you in the future in some way, shape, or form. So enjoy this little video of our past conferences, and we will see you next time.
See you later, folks.
Wrong one, of course.
No worries.
Okay, hang on. Let me just rip through this. Here we go.
Sure.
I put it at the very end, but then I popped it down. There we go.